Hi, everyone. I'm Colleen Brzezowski, and I sit on the Education Committee for CITE Global. And we're here today to talk about how to prepare to sit for the CITP exam. Jen, thank you so much for being here. And if you could introduce yourself and give us a little background about your involvement in the CITP.
Thanks, Colleen. I'm Jen Glynn, and I sit on as the current past president for 2021 for CITE. And I have been very involved in education since I joined the board. And one of those initiatives was working with a global committee to put together CITP. And actually didn't even start as CITP, it actually started as a redevelopment of our Certified Incentive Travel Executive certification. But through all those focus groups and discussions with individuals and personal interviews, our committee decided that there was actually a gap in our market between CIS, which is entry level, and our executive level. So it's what the market needed, and it helps raise the credibility of our incentive travel industry overall. So that's kind of why we decided to do that.
Wonderful, fantastic. So what would your number one piece of advice be to someone considering sitting for their CITP?
Go for it. I mean, come prepared. I said this before, but I've found that a lot of people that have been challenged with it just think that 30 years in the business is they rush through the exam. I find when I've proctored the exam that they are the first to leave. So I would just say, come in with eyes wide open. Everybody that has taken the CITP, no matter the years, I'm sure they've learned something through the study groups or their use of the knowledge or overviews. So just come with an open mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I think after I took the exam and talking with the people that sat at the same time I did, I found that there were a lot of people that were just very nervous about the fact that it was a test. And those that said, well, I do this every day, I'm just applying everything that I already know to answer these questions, they seem to do a little bit better. I think people almost freak themselves out a little bit with the anticipation of knowing that it is set up to be a challenging exam. It's just what type of exam it is. So can you talk a little bit more about how it's designed?
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely not a walk in the park. And for some of us, it's been many years since we've sat in a classroom and had to do an exam. When we looked at developing this, it's a challenge to take a global community with many different roles and come up with a certification. So we reflected back on our job analysis focus group and work that we'd done on what skills that our audience is looking for in a director manager level role. And then through feedback, we've heard, don't give us a book or an exam, don't give us something to memorize. I want to see that people have a clear understanding and have worked in the incentive travel industry. Where a CIS is really entry level. You can take it in person for the workshop and then you write the exam, or you can do it online, but that really is entry level. This is showing what you've learned from working with your agency partners, or as an agency partner working with your corporate end user customer through these different modules that you can reflect on in the Knowledge Center as well. So, it's 100 questions. I say to everybody, take a deep breath and clearly read the question, because I know I've heard from many people, oh, it's very subjective. Well, you do need to take for every exam. If you were writing your certified meeting professional, your North Star on that is your an event planner perspective, right? So we're doing the same thing here with you're a third party agency. It is North American outbound perspective. And again, that's because we have so many countries and regions represented, but a lot of our members are working with the outbound North American market, the US buyer, for example, because they have so many incentive travel programs that we all have the opportunity to work on. So that's kind of where you need to look at it from. And then just clearly read it. If you're stuck on a question, step back, put it to the end, and then walk through it again. I found the chapters that have developed the study groups and have brought in people that have talked about the specific modules have overall done better than the ones that just went in with, we've all been in the industry for this long, we know. So.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And working with the chapters and the education committee is helping the chapters to put together the study groups and some ideas of what those should be. But everybody that I've talked to that sat in a study group said it was all about the discussion. And if it was an area that they maybe touched on, but they weren't as knowledgeable on, having a conversation with somebody else that did that on a day-to-day basis really opened their eyes and helped them understand the questions on the exam a little bit better.
Yeah, and I mean, as we get more people certified for the CITP, the more of a community that you can rely on to go back and ask those questions, just like CMP has study groups with past CMP participants. It really is helpful if you can have somebody either kick off your study group or organize conversations in different arenas for you, like you said, because we're not expecting everybody to be an expert in every part of the exam is not that hard that you have to know everything about incentive travel program design and everything about budget management. It really is high level, but in order for you to raise up your own professional development, our industry's credibility, it's kind of the high level what you need to know about all these things that are being taken into consideration. And we've talked about, gone are the days that some of our clients are just having an incentive program for the sake of an incentive program. Corporations are taking much more accountability and metrics, and that is great for our industry. And the fact that we have more, we can support an incentive travel professional's journey along that with education at global conferences or through certification is key, because it takes us, and I probably shouldn't use the word, but it takes us from the party boondoggle days and makes us demonstrate clearly that what we do can drive business results, and it can help with retention and recruitment and employee engagement. So that's where we need to take our conversations.
Yeah, absolutely agree 100% on that. So the exam is written from the perspective of a North American outbound buyer. So even if you're a supplier or you're sitting somewhere else in the world other than North America, it still applies to the knowledge that you have about the industry.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, as a supplier, it doesn't matter if cruise line, airline, DMC, hotel, and I understand that DMCs are also buyers, but it allows you to have those, it opens doors and it allows you to have strategic conversations and ask, higher gain questions in the sales arena, because you understand the language of the lingo and overall what their program objectives are, so I think it's, obviously the agency, third-party agency, although they might disagree with this, might find it somewhat easier. Anybody who's really invested time to get to know the incentive travel industry is going to do just fine. I mean, it's 100 questions, 2.5 hours, 3.5 hours if your second language is your primary language is not English. But yeah, it's overall, Colleen, our pass rate is over 70%, which is industry average for similar exams. So we're happy with where we're falling. I know the people, we give opportunity if you don't pass the exam to rewrite the exam complimentary. We want you to be successful. And these study groups are key to that. And the overview modules, again, it's not a memorization test. You have to think through the question. Some of the questions are, what is the best scenario, or pick one of three, those type of things. So you really have to ensure you understand what the question means and not read it too quickly would be my best advice for when you're sitting for the exam.
Absolutely. And I think when you say write the exam, a lot of people think write and they think that they're writing essays, but that's not true. It is multiple choice. So you do have some options of choices, and so we don't want people to be intimidated thinking that they're writing long essays, because again, as we've talked about in other videos, that makes it harder to
it's very subjective, the long form question. So yeah, multiple choice, which probably still makes a number of people sweat out there because we haven't done it since college and university days. But we've allowed ample time. If you do have a question about a meaning of a word, because it's something that is seen as more North American, you can ask the proctor for clarity on a word. We are just kind of to reflect back, when we designed the program, it was made up of two different groups of people that we brought together as a committee, and they were from South America, Asia Pacific, Europe, Turkey, Great Britain, Ireland. I'm trying to picture all the people around the table, but we actually created it with two different groups, and that's in order for us to qualify for accreditation. One, which is who looked at the job analysis, who looked at what mid-level manager did in that role every day and came up with the modules. And then there was a whole other group that wrote the exam questions. And again, even though we had a global audience of volunteers and all of whom are site members, we're still always understand that some of the language needs to be less North American, more global. So we're always looking for feedback on that. And if there is a question that comes up that majority of the people get wrong, it obviously is a question that needs to be tweaked or taken out completely. So, and that's what we do. We would just automatically take that question out and not count it into the mix.
Got it. Okay. So I think as people are preparing to sit for the exam and they're trying to prepare and study, there are a lot of resources available in the Knowledge Center. There are the modules, the prep course that they can go through, but it really and white papers and all the articles and Motivate and just any of the knowledge that's available on the website will be helpful to understand the overall incentive travel business. The advice that I received that I found really helpful was talking to people that sat for the exam and just having their reassurance that, yes, it's challenging, but you do this every day. So think about how you apply it, what makes sense, and take the time, use the whole time that you're allotted. And if there's questions that you're uncertain on, go back to them a few times and reach out to people. If there's certain areas that don't make sense to you as you're studying and reviewing information, and you go, I don't know that much about risk management, I'd like to learn a little bit more, that you can talk to someone about that. And that's probably the best preparation because it's not memorization.
Yeah, and I think it's knowing that, say you're not really strong, like you said, in risk management, or you want to, so learn as much as you can. This is your opportunity for professional development more so than anything. But also know that, like the budget questions, some people are like, oh, I got the budget questions, and there's a bank of questions. So just so you know, even if somebody memorized what the budget question was, and there is over 300 questions right now that make up this exam, every time is different. Now they're pulled from different areas, so don't worry, they're all equal in difficulty. But if you don't get that one budget question wrong, you're not failing the exam. So the questions are diverse enough in different categories that the modules speak to that you're going to be fine.
Fantastic. Good. Well, in closing, I think we both have said it several times, but it is a tough exam, but we don't want you to be intimidated by it. And the reward that you will get from preparing for it and then achieving your CITP really will pay back all of the time and effort that you've put into it. Anything else to add on that?
Yeah, I would just say, the Site Foundation invested in the development of this certification at the request of our members. And this is what the marketplace was saying that we were missing, was this mid-tier director level. And the investment that the foundation and site have made, in the last few years of offering this exam at a highly discounted rate, as well as the chapter supporting CITP Week, which will be going on to the second time virtually, hopefully hybrid for some people in person. Obviously it's hybrid, it's in person, but hopefully we'll have it at more locations in person. So now's the time to take advantage of it. And the more certifications we have out there, the more agencies will be looking for CITP and supplier partners will be looking for CITP certified professionals, and the better our industry is.
Absolutely. Well, good. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to having many more CITPs join the site family.
Thanks.